You have a body to live in, but what you do with it can make the difference in the person you are. Yeah, we're talking eating right. We're talking going to the gym, but there is more. And your host, Tim Volk, has done it. I'm Patrice Sikora. Tim, you titled this episode Creating the Body You Want to Inhabit. And you basically outlined three parts of what might be described as a personal Venn diagram. You know, I love Venn diagrams.
Yes.
So tell us about these three parts to being a whole person.
Well, the genesis of this was a friend of mine in the gym, Tim, another Tim, and anybody named Tim's got to be a good person. He said, Tim, I really think it'd be fun for you to describe your journey in fitness and how you're transforming your body. And I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool. And then you and I talked about it a bit, and I thought, well, it's more than that. It's not just about the physical. That I find that the body, mind, spirit, and that balance or seeking that balance, because I don't know that I've ever achieved utopia there. But I think that trying to find that balance is part of the journey. Um, yes, I go to the gym and it relieves stress, but I also find myself in a much better frame of mind if I meditate. And I've done a lot of work on myself mentally, my mental health, emotional well-being with the therapist and with deep conversations with my mentors, and that looking back has been invaluable. And I don't know that you sort of write down that, oh, today on July whatever 20th or 15th or whatever, said you made this major shift. You don't do that. I don't normally journal that. But what happens is over a period of months post that conversation, you start to recognize things that we talked about. So there's sort of like an absorption that has to happen with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's over time.
And,
And
ex-
that's why, you know,
and acceptance.
oh yeah, acceptance.
Okay. Well,
Acceptance is big.
yeah. Well, let's start with the physical. When did you start to think you wanted to have a better body physically?
I think when I was a little kid, I used to look at the catalogs. In those days, we had Sears and Roebuck and J.C. Penney's and stuff. You'd look at the catalog, and I'd look at the male models and underwear models, whatever, say, wow, I like that. And so clearly, I was an early stage gay boy, but I didn't know that. And I was not fit. I was unhappy in many ways. I was uh, bullied in school, like in elementary school and junior high school. I think I was very nervous. I looking back, it had to probably do with not feeling like I fit in. And I grew up in a hyper masculine environment in a rural part of the country, and I knew that I didn't fit. So
Mhm.
I think that there was a mental state of not feeling good about myself. And I think if I had started to do fitness then, like I played sports or did something then, it might have transformed me earlier. But looking back, the journey is my journey. And so in eighth grade, I went to live with my dad and my stepmother for a year. My sister and I did. And my stepmom put me on a diet. I really think she knew that I should be healthier. And all my folks, my dad, my stepmom, and my mom are all very fitness or active people. So it transformed my body from being chubby to sort of lean, but I wasn't fit yet. That didn't happen until college when I started to take aerobics.
And you became an instructor, didn't you?
Yeah, it evolved me into becoming an instructor, and I would teach 5 or 6 times a week while I was working full time. And I worked for my family, and I was teaching in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And here's a white boy with rhythm teaching cardio funk. There's just so many things, in my tights, in my, and I in the early days, I had, oh my goodness, I think we'd have 75 to 100 people in my class.
Oh,
I'd
my.
be on stage at the YMCA, and I'd have a mic, and we would do jumping jacks. We was high impact aerobics, which, we did that for a long time. And then I competed, and I became a very competitive aerobics
How do you compete in
person.
aerobics? Wait a minute. How do you compete?
Oh, they give you the routines, and you got to go out and do the routine, and then you compete with other groups that are doing the routine. So you do it with either two people or three people. usually in a team.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was fun. But most people don't know that about me. And then so I was really thin. I weighed 145, 150 pounds,
How tall are you?
5'8".
Ooh,
Today I weigh 212, 210 to 212.
okay.
And so lot more muscle today intentionally. But those days that friends of mine at the Y wanted me to start powerlifting with them. So here I was as an aerobics instructor, and I started to try and lift weights with them, powerlifting, and that was a big change. But it also started my journey in weight training, and that took some time. That's been a, I don't know, 30-some year journey.
Do
I
you still
like it.
do it? You still do it?
Yeah. Oh my God. So today, so every year I thought, well, I got probably a little fitter. I got, but it wasn't until a couple years ago when I decided when I turned 60 that I was going to hire a coach. And I'd met this woman as a professional bodybuilder coach, and she's a IFBB certified bodybuilder. So Victoria, and I started training together. And when she first met me, she was training a mutual friend of ours, Stephanie. And Stephanie was in her early 50s and competing in the master's level. She had had a lot of surgery and physical issues in her life, and so she transformed her body, and she's gorgeous. So I met Victoria. She walked in. She's like 5'2", 5'3", and 135 pounds of all muscle. And she had this wild outfit on and these high heel boots, and she's big hair, and she's gorgeous, and she's African American. She took and walked around me, looking at me up and down, and turned to Stephanie and said, "I think I can work with this." I'm like, "What? Girl, I'm right here. I'm right here. Who are you talking to?" So then so then we proceeded to work out, and from that point, then I engaged her, and she started to change everything. So my routines changed, my diet, which we call a meal plan. We don't call it a diet, it's just a meal plan. And I target trying to eat, 5 or 6 meals a day, protein based. The workouts I do 3 days on, 1 day off. And the routines, we have certain days that we're always doing certain body parts.
Mhm.
So as you get older, we only do one body part a week. And sometimes we might combine 2 body parts. So you might do shoulders and chest on Mondays, or I'll just do chest. Tuesdays are hamstrings, Wednesdays are back, Thursdays are rest day, Fridays legs, Saturdays arms. And there's a combination sometimes if we miss a day or so. But
How
I've
does how
Go
does all
ahead.
this stuff make you feel though? You sound like you feel almost empowered?
That's a good word. I would say it does empower you. At first you're thinking this is crazy. And people around you see, in my neighborhood, I walk to the gym. We only live a couple blocks from the gym. So I walk over there, and I know some of my neighbors are like, he's always going to the gym. He's always going to the gym. But it's the consistency in it that is the magic. And so I try to encourage others that it is the consistency in going, and even so I call it showing up. And then what happens is you get better and better and better at the workouts. And your mind connects to the muscle when you're working out at some level. At some point, I don't know what point it was for me, but my mind goes to the muscle group I'm working on, and I focus on that muscle area. And so the muscle under tension, the amount of time that you're doing that exercise, you're focused on that muscle moving. I think it's that focus, and I lose track of everything else going on. And so I become sort of, my gym time has become an escape. It's magical. It empowers you. I know a lot of people at the gym. They're your gym friends, your gym buddies, and all walks of life, all walks of ages. And I do think it empowers you. I think it gives you a level of confidence, and nobody can take it from you. It's not like you lose your job, or this is something that only you can do.
And you're talking now about your mind. Your mind is getting into this. It's making you
Hmm.
feel good. How does that improve your mental health? I'm not getting into the spiritual yet. I want the mental health part of this.
So body, mind, spirit. The body, I think pushing your body to new levels creates a space in your mind. And I don't know if the body drives the mind or the mind drives obviously the mind is in control of the body. We know that as a technical piece, but the space that you allow yourself to connect is really magical. So I lose track of time when I'm training, particularly with my coach. Like an hour goes by, it feels like it's been 10 seconds. I think it's because you become so focused. You're able to focus on this one thing that you're doing. And we have a really good time. We laugh, we joke, we tease each other, that you're pushing yourself to new levels.
Mhm.
In the mind part, I've learned that and I've been working with a therapist for 15 years, long time, long time. And my therapist is an older gay man like me, and he has helped me see how I react in things, how I respond to things, and the space that you allow yourself to just be is a very powerful place to be. So my mentors, I've had a lot of my friends and mentors meditate on a daily basis. And when I meditate in the morning early, it does shift the way your day goes. It shifts you into a more mindful day. And there's some great, you can, if you're challenged with it, I've always listened to Deepak Chopra. I love his voice. I love how he says things. There is something meditative about his voice, and he does guided meditations all the time. But inside the guided meditation, he will no, there's no sound after a while. There's just being there. And if you can quiet your mind where there's nothing, there's the nothingness, it's the point of power for your body and your mind. And I think that that happens in the gym for me. It's almost like a meditative space. It's different than when I sit and meditate, but there's a connection to the higher self.
Hmm.
So I can close my eyes when I'm at the gym and I can just feel the connection into my higher self, which I've trained myself to do while I meditate. But people that have done it for years will say to you, all you have to do is close your mind and in 1 minute or 30 seconds connect, and it helps to relieve the stress and anxiety.
When you leave the gym and you walk back home, do you feel lighter? Do you feel happy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I do. I think there's a sense that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And if you're under a lot of stress, you have a lot of stuff going on, then you are ready to tackle that with a fresh mind. There's a saying that a friend of mine has, one of my mentors, and I've talked about him, Jay Hughes, who we model the five capitals after with families, and that it's to have the beginner's mind in our life. The mind of the open mind that we want to learn. We want to begin. We want to learn something new. So I've done that with my fitness stuff because I wanted to take it to a new level. Like I've always dreamed of being a bodybuilder.
Oh,
Whether I go on stage or not, I don't know. But I'd like to have the ability. Now my coach says, "Oh no, you're going on stage because we're going to teach you how to diet down and transform your body at that level." Because she says it'll change you. It'll change how you do things. So again, it's just pushing yourself to a whole new level. And then the mental pace, the mental space, I don't think it's that different. I think that when we are learning the mental health capacity, how we react, how we respond to situations, particularly under duress, what is it that you respond to? I know that for me, and I'm probably not the only one. If I feel like somebody's not listening to me, or they're dismissing me, or I'm dismissive, I have a visceral reaction to it. And so I've had to learn to say, why are you reacting this way? It sounds crazy.
no, it does not. It does not.
And and then with family, I know I'm probably the only one that has family dynamics that can send me off, go crazy. But I'm gonna I'm teasing everybody because I think everybody has their own family situations and they all know how to push your buttons.
Oh, yeah.
So the question lies in, how do you change the way you look at this? How do you change your reaction when you feel like that going back? It's like there's an old tape playing in your head and you're going to respond the way you used to respond. So how do you say, wait, that's an old tape and I don't like that. I don't like that. One of the ways I practice it is uh, I'm hypercritical of myself. And I know it's a common thing, particularly amongst gay men my age. And that's because you don't feel like you're worthy. You don't feel like, and for many years we didn't want to talk about it. We tried to hide it. And so we try to be more funny, more fit, more beautiful, more fashion forward, smarter, more accomplished to avoid the conversation about being gay or LGBTQ plus.
Mhm.
But and what I've learned is that I have certain things that I would react to. Well, I've tried now to put humor in it because humor helps me react softer. Or I try to ask questions. So, for example, as the older of the siblings, I always feel like I was more responsible as the older brother. But reality is, I'm still just a sibling. I'm not the parent. I'm not dad or mom but why would I react that way? Why can't I just accept my sisters and brothers the way they are and love them just as they are? I want them to do that with me. So I think that the journey on the mental health and understanding how we react to things is a very, very important part of our journey. I've been blessed to have a lot of mentors, really, really great mentors, both in my career and in my personal life. And they've helped to give that coaching, that thought process of their own journey and sharing their own journey. So I encourage people to talk more about their journey because it helps other people see that they're not alone.
And I hear this confidence in you. Does that confidence that you seem to have gained give you the desire to try new things, to grow even further beyond the boundaries you thought you had?
Yeah. Yeah, Patrice, I think you've hit on something there. I think, okay, in the gym, I'm hitting more personal records in my weights. I never dreamed I could do this stuff.
Mhm.
The other day, I was doing a single dumbbell row, which is bent over and it's one arm, and I was doing 100-pound dumbbells. I never thought in my life I'd ever do 100-pound dumbbells.
Good for you.
I think my coach sees my ability. She understands some of my physical limitations because I'm older. And she also knows though when she can push. So here's professional guidance in the physical, where somebody gets to know you. You have to trust them. That's a hard thing. That they are really pushing you and it's going to be okay. Now, you read about it, Olympic athletes all the time. And I have a good friend of mine, Cindy Adams, who does enormous coaching with of athletes. And she always tells me there's a deep spiritual belief they have, there's a confidence, and they practice, 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 and they get pushed by their coaches and they achieve new things. But they have a desire to do that. So it has to open up that you want to do something new or achieve a new level. And the mental piece is you have to be able to clear up your, not that I've done this perfectly, please. I would love to think that it's perfectly done. It is not. So I don't want listeners to think, gosh, Tim's got it totally together. Because of course I do. There's a line from Devil Wears Prada which says, don't be ridiculous, Andrea. Everybody wants this life. Everybody wants to be us. But the reality is that I've had to learn to sort of let go of my criticism in order to push myself beyond that and to accept that, okay, so what if I don't look like the Adonis, the other guy in the gym that's perfect? What I see is perfect. I'm doing great myself. And so the criticism has to go. Like, that's not acceptable anymore. I'm not going to listen to that old comment that you're fat or you're not fit enough or you can't do it. Because I think all of us have that little voice in our head sometimes that's the doubt.
It's true.
And it doesn't go away. I think it stays. Maybe the key is just to say, okay, I hear you, but that doesn't apply anymore.
I like that. You mentioned meditation. For many
Mm.
people, meditation brings up questions of religion, spirituality. Oh my goodness, why
Yeah.
would I want to do that? Not understanding how wonderful it can be. What about your spiritual journey? Has the
Mm.
meditation, when did the meditation come in during that journey? Was it early on? Was it later
My
on?
last
What
life? No, I'm teasing.
what what sparked growth there? I won't say changes. What sparked growth there?
Like I think like a lot of people, I was raised in a very strict religion. My mom's family was LDS.
Mhm.
So we were Mormon, and which is a Christianity, I believe in Christian, faith, although they have a whole overlay. And once you've seen the Book of Mormon, you can't help but laugh about some of it because
Let's
it's
not go
just
there. I'm going to be
I
laughing on the whole show.
but the idea that I was raised in this and I knew at a young age
Alta
it
Lake
didn't
City.
fit. Yeah.
Alta Lake City. Sorry.
I'd like to see the golden tablets that were disappeared, and I'm the only one that remembers them. It's in the ancient land of upstate New York. There's just so much that I learned at the moment. But in school, what was interesting is um, we were part of an integration program in junior high school. So my sister and I were bused across town, and I got to know other friends that lived in the other part of the community in Denver, which was a rough area at the time, but they were just fine. And I remember my friend Eric Roberts took me to his church, which was like a Southern gospel church. That the music was great, the choir was, everybody was clapping. It was just so upbeat. And then because he's African American, I took just this, it's an important point because I tried to take him to the Mormon church. We were trying to show each other our religions. Then they stopped us at the door and they said, Brother Volk, you can't have your friend to come in with you. This is pre 79, late 79, when the LDS decided they could accept. There was a revelation that they could have black people in the church or African Americans. But at the time, my mother said, I was like, she said, you were channeling Martin Luther King. You got up on a box sort of and said, I can't be part of this anymore because if you're not going to see people equally, I can't be part of this. So obviously, at a young age, I knew it didn't fit me.
Mhm.
And I think, though, that I had been exposed to some people who were metaphysical and very, very, I would just say, conscious aware of things. And through that process, and a couple friends of mine were deep into meditation, and they were talking about how they listened to Deepak Chopra, how they listened to Thich Nhat Hanh. They had these, this is in the 90s, where I started listening to these tapes, cassettes, or CDs, for those that don't know what those are. And I was like, and I would do it while I was riding a bike, or sometimes I would just be in the car, and then Thich Nhat Hanh would say, I hope you're not driving while we do this, because they want you to stop and close your eyes and stuff. But I started that journey. Um, my mentors talked about how they would daily meditation and they would ask questions to their spirit guides, and then they would have thoughts that come from their deep meditation, clarity in questions they were looking at in their life. So I met a woman we had the energy cleansing of our house, and then Martha Hayden, and she invited me to come learn how to meditate. And she said, we're going to have a class at my house on Sunday. So I started going to her house. I was the only one in the class for a month or two. And so I liked it. Then the group got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we did some more meditations together. And I wish I'd stayed in that group. I didn't. I got busy working and doing other things, but I've come back to it. I think that's the thing that, everybody thinks you're always perfect with it. Uh, there are times in my life I've left it and come back to it. And when I come back to it, it's even better. and the time to be able to meditate or just spend time quietly. I've looked now, I've had, particularly in our family or my older friends or their parents who were devoutly religious, they would go pray. I know one of my friend's mothers would go to church, Catholic church. She'd go almost every day and she would say, I just sit and pray. And so I started to say, well, is it any different than me sitting in quiet at home? Maybe not, because sometimes I think when you go to some of the cathedrals or the big churches, it's so beautiful. There's so much
Mhm.
pageantry or regal there. It takes you into a different place mentally. It helps you to move into your meditative state, whatever it is. And I don't judge.
Sit in a beautiful church, say the rosary. That's meditation.
It's meditation,
It's chanting. It's the same thing again and again.
right? And
It's
the
the
ancient
intent.
monks
Yes.
chant,
Yes.
and it's their meditation.
Yes.
And then they go into silence. Even, we've talked about, I remember reading about Buckminster Fuller, and I think I've talked to you about that before. In part of the super learning courses I did in the 80s and 90s, John and I was part of a group of people that one of my therapists in those days, because I was having trouble working with my family, and I went to see this therapist, and he suggested I go to this seminar series, and it was really a self-empowerment seminar series. Some of my closest friends today come out of that period of my life. And the work was based on a lot of different people's work, but they used a lot of reference to Bucky Fuller, who was, a great futurist of our time. And Bucky went into deep periods of silence in his life, like periods for years. And then he would come out, and one of the last times he went in, he came out to try and solve the world's problems. And he said that if we learn to love comprehensively and to live our life with integrity, and then take personal responsibility for our lives, the world's problems will solve.
Oh, that's so simple, isn't it? That's a
And
wonderful thought, but wow.
but you know how hard it is to get people to think that way?
Oh gosh, yes. Oh yes.
So here I'd had this coaching. I was young. And then I started to staff those seminars. We would offer to volunteer and staff them all over the world. We traveled all over, groups of us did. And I look back at some of the work that he did and some of the way he thought about, living your life from abundance versus scarcity. That was a huge genesis for me, but I don't always recognize it. I forget.
Mm.
So today I wonder, uh, I need to read more. I would tell you I need to read more. I need to read more philosophical stuff. That would help me.
Okay.
But I think that this part of this body, mind, spirit, and the spiritual journey can be achieved in different ways as long as you connect yourself to the higher self somehow.
How do you how do you explain that to people? I mean, it's when you say, "Hey, connect to your higher self, go meditate, go lift weights." How do you
Yeah,
bring
right.
it together?
Having the ability to sit in silence for an extended period of time. And what you notice, and I'm not qualified to teach meditation. So, and but I'm happy to share what I've learned. And that is when you sit in silence, you see and hear all these thoughts go through your head. One of the ways that you train yourself is to hear everything. You hear the bus go by, you hear the bird, you hear the whine of the air conditioning, you may hear the fan, you may hear people talking or whatever, but then it just becomes white noise when you focus on it, and then it kind of moves away from you. And then internally, you just let yourself quiet the mind. If thoughts come in, let them go out. Don't stop and ponder them. And then from there, your mind calms. But it's a training. You have to train your mind to do this. But the masters at meditation, the people that can do this really well, it's very powerful. And you'll meet them and you'll think there's this amazing calm with them. And that's my goal. That's what I want to achieve. But when, people ask me about my fitness, I think it's a combination of body, mind, spirit.
Okay.
I don't-
Any final thoughts on this as we wrap it up? I mean, one
Well,
thing I want to note is that they all go together. You're right. When you work out, you're so much more open when you're done. Try
yeah,
meditating after that.
I think putting yourself in a physical state of having worked your body and allow your body to recover, there is a endorphin high.
Mm-hmm.
And from the movie Legally Blonde, we've all saw the scene when Reese Witherspoon is in there and she goes and they said, well, somebody went to visit our clients, a Miss Delta New. And she's like, do it. And she's okay. I went to visit her. And they're like, well, did you talk to her? Yes. Did you get an alibi? Uh-huh. It's really good. And they're like, well, tell us. She's, well, I can't break the bonds of sisterhood. I'm sorry. Well, this is a legal case. She's gonna go to jail. Well, then we're not good lawyers. And then I was like, well, she's likely guilty. And she goes, well, it doesn't make any sense because she has exercise class and she's like, and she, you have an endorphin high and endorphins make for happy people and happy people just don't kill their husbands. So just crap.
Perfectly logical, right?
But there is an endorphin high
Yeah.
and it does help you. And I think that journey, so a lot of people get fearful when they walk into the gym because they see all these people working out and there's a lot of fit people. That's what you see. You don't see the people that aren't fit. You see the people that are the most fit. And then you try to judge yourself to it. The reality is most people at the gym, if you show up, they're like impressed.
Exactly. They don't care because
They don't care.
they're sweating themselves.
They're working their ass off. And then if you really work hard, like what's happened to me is in the gym we go to that are nothing but it's a trainer's gym. You only can work out there with your trainer. The trainers start to notice that you're working out hard and compliment you. That's when you know things are really going well. But in my regular gym, people that don't really talk to me will come up to me and ask me things now. Talk to me, just say hi. So what happens is there's sort of this gym evolution. And, I think when you meet people at the gym, it's kind of cool because they're happy people. They're at the gym. So they're already trying to improve themselves. Yes, not everybody's going to be a perfect body. And people, the going to make a fit body means you have to diet or have a meal plan discipline with what you eat and when you eat. It is also about a commitment to consistent exercise and the process of both strength training and cardio. I recommend you do your strength training first, followed by cardio, or in some days, like I separate my cardio to my lifting. And uh, you will get over time, you will get better at lifting weights. You'll get better at doing cardio. So you don't start with the greatest thing. And if you decide to take a class, like you want to take a spinning class, just because you go the first time and it may not go well, don't give up. Go back and do it again because you're going to get better at it. And you're going to feel like you're getting more accomplishment. There's nothing better than that sense of personal accomplishment that you push yourself and you stayed with it and you see the results.
Well, Tim, how can people reach you if they want to share their stories with you or
Oh
hear
gosh, I
about
would
yours?
love to hear their stories. You guys email me at tim.volk@tvolkco.com. That's tim.volk at tvolkco.com.
And we'll have that in the show notes too.
Yeah. I just really appreciate people asking me about it and wanting me to share it. I'm happy to share my journey. It is not perfect. I would like to thank all the people that have encouraged me and that are there in my corner, helping me and my mentors and honor the work that they've done. And hopefully by sharing this, it encourages others to do the same. Let's encourage each other. Let's support each other.
All right, folks. As Tim said, encourage yourself, and it's never too late to love yourself, too. Call Tim, talk to him, and please follow this podcast, share it with others, and
Yeah.
thanks for being with us.
Thanks, everybody.